Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Catalyze Your Self. I'm Gayatri, your host, and today we move into episode 19 within season 3, when rest feels like a threat. And by rest, we are not just speaking of sleep. Sleep is just one expression of rest. And for all of us, sleep is important in how our body repairs, restores, and recovers. But sleep is not the whole of what rest is composed of. We can sleep and still not feel rested. We can pause and not feel restored. We can take time away, close down our laptop, turn off the lights, sit in the quiet, or even go on a vacation and still return not feeling fully rested, with our mind scanning, our body tensed, and our nervous system already preparing for what is coming next. So today we are looking at rest in a much broader way, because rest is not only when our movement stops, it is also about what is happening inside of us when our movement stops. Rest asks something of our mind, our nervous system, and our body. It asks us to stop using movement, usefulness, vigilance, performance, caretaking, readiness, or control as proof that we are okay. And if those patterns have carried us throughout our life, if they have helped us belong, succeed, avoid conflict, stay connected, feel prepared, or keep functioning under pressure, then rest may not arrive as a neutral experience. Rest may feel unfamiliar. It may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like exposure. It may feel like falling behind. It may feel like losing control. It may feel like being unavailable to the people who depend on us. It may feel like no longer performing the identity others have come to rely on from us. And in that experience, rest can begin to feel less like self-care and more like the removal of protection. And this is the quiet tension we are going to stay with today. Rest for us is not simply a biological need. Rest is also a learned relationship that we build throughout our lifetime. And when rest feels like a threat, we are not only looking at the absence of rest, we are looking at the relationship our mind, our nervous system, and body have formed with letting go of vigilance. And for some of us, rest may be connected to self-help and is a safe place. Our body may know that slowing down is a healthy choice. Our resting may come with a rhythm, a protection, a predictability, and enough relational safety. And in this relationship, rest is not a negotiation for us. It simply becomes a part of us being alive. And then for others of us, rest may carry a very different meaning. Rest may carry the feeling of separation. Our body may be tired, but our nervous system may read the moment as disconnection. Rest may carry the feeling of losing control. Our body may need a pause, but our mind and nervous system feels insistent on continuing to monitor, track, anticipate, and prepare. And for some of us, rest may carry the feeling of interruption. It may interrupt our productivity. It may interrupt our caretaking. It may interrupt being needed by others. It may interrupt us being capable. It may interrupt the identity of the one who keeps going. And for some of us, rest may carry the feeling of punishment. Stillness may have a history of being imposed rather than received. Stillness, rest, quiet may have once been where we were sent away. We were silenced. We were controlled. or just separated from all the other activities of life. And for others of us, rest may carry the feeling of being earned. Our self-talk then becomes, I can rest once this is handled. I can rest when no one needs me. I can rest when I've done enough. And life rarely completes itself cleanly enough for that kind of rest to ever arrive. So our rest keeps getting postponed. And then there is the way rest can expose what all this activity and movement have been holding away for us. Stillness can allow our fatigue or exhaustion to surface, our disappointment, our longing, our grief, needs that were abandoned or minimized, boundaries that were let go of quietly, versions of ourselves we have outgrown but have not had the space to even acknowledge. All or any of these can make our relationship with rest feel so much more complicated that we may not even be consciously aware of, because our tiredness may be real, our need for recovery may be clear, our body may be asking for us to take a pause, and still, when the pause becomes available, we may not know how to enter it and settle into it. We become restless. We start searching for something to do. We start feeling guilty. We may start managing the choice of rest itself. We may turn sleep into another task that we must optimize. We may track and measure and evaluate rest until the body is no longer being listened to, but controlled. And in that pattern, rest does not restore. It becomes another place where our vigilance is just continuing. And if we do not take the steps to truly rest, restore, and rejuvenate, our self, our mind, our body, our nervous system can reach a breaking point and simply shut down. Shut down happens when our body has reached its limit and reduces our input, because continuing is no longer sustainable. Rejuvenation and restoration that comes from true rest asks for something very different from us. Restoration is asking for enough safety within our mind, nervous system, and body for that rest to actually happen. And rejuvenation is what will come out of the rest once we've completed it successfully. A steadier energy, a relaxed body, a clearer mind, a renewed sense of presence, a deeper return to ourself. So today, we are not approaching rest as something to force, something to manage, something to control. We are not approaching rest as something to earn. We are not approaching rest as another performance. We are approaching rest as a relationship that we must understand for the health of ourself. A relationship shaped by what we have lived so far, a relationship shaped by what our nervous system has learned is safe, a relationship shaped by how our body has adapted to pressure, a relationship shaped by identity, usefulness, productivity, caregiving, control, trust, and what just remaining still has meant in our life. So the question we must stay with today is, what has our mind, our nervous system, and body learned about rest, and what is that costing us? Because when rest feels threatening, the question is not simply, why can't we rest? The deeper question is, what does our internal world believe might happen if we do? And this question becomes especially important because rest being available to us is not the same as rest being accessible within us. Available rest is what exists all around us. Time may be available, space may be available, a quiet room may be available, one workday may have ended, our calendar may have opened up, the responsibility in front of us may have been completed. No one may be asking anything of us in this particular moment. And still, rest may not feel accessible inside of us. Accessible rest feels very different. Accessible rest is when our mind, our nervous system, and our body can actually enter into the space that has become available for us without treating it as a space of risk, absence, uncertainty, or a loss of protection. We may have an evening with nothing urgent on our schedule, and instead of feeling relieved, we start feeling restless. We may have a day off, and instead of feeling open or restored, we find our mind searching for what needs to be handled. We may finally lie down, and our body may still feel tight and stressed, as if rest is not something to receive, but something to remain cautious inside of. We may sit in the quiet and notice that the quiet does not feel spacious. It feels uncomfortable. And this can cause confusion because from the outside, it looks like rest is available. Internally, in our inner world, we may not have access to that rest that is available to us. And this is important for us to recognize. So we give ourselves the grace instead of judgment when this occurs. Our inability to settle does not always mean we are refusing rest. It may simply mean our mind, our nervous system, and our body have not yet registered the conditions around us as safe enough for us to enter. Our internal world may still be operating from a posture of readiness. Our nervous system may still be scanning for what might be asked of us next. Our body may still be carrying the pace of what came before, even after our outer world has slowed down. This is why someone can say, "You have time now, just rest." And still, rest does not arrive. Because rest is not only a matter of time being free and available for it. It is also a matter of whether our mind, our nervous system, and body believe we are free to settle into that rest. And that is a different experience. It requires our mind to loosen its grip on what remains unresolved. It requires our nervous system to sense that vigilance is not being asked of us right now. It requires our body to understand that it does not have to continue proving readiness through stress and tension. And for many of us, that recognition does not happen simply because our external conditions have changed. Our outer world may slow down faster than our inner world does. Our workday may be over, but our mind may still be moving through everything that happened during it. Our conversation may be over, but our nervous system may be processing what was said, reliving it, what was not said, what was felt, what we contained, what we wish we had expressed differently. Our body may be sitting still, but the momentum from an earlier moment may still be moving through our muscles, our breath, our posture, and our attention. So when we ask ourselves why rest feels difficult, it may not be enough to ask whether we have time. We may also need to ask whether our internal world can enter that time that exists for us to rest. Because availability and accessibility are not the same. Available rest says there is space. Accessible rest says we can enter this space without abandoning our sense of safety. Available rest says nothing is required of us right now. Accessible rest says our mind, nervous system, and body believe that nothing being required of us right now is not a threat. Available rest says we have stopped externally. Accessible rest says we have stopped internally enough for our restoration to begin. And for some of us, this gap between availability and accessibility can be very wide. We may be able to lie down before our body realizes it's bracing. We may be able to be quiet before that quiet starts feeling safe. We may be able to become unavailable to the outside world before our inner world believes that our unavailability is allowed. And this gap can become one of the places where rest can start feel threatening. Because when rest becomes available, there is a potential we are expecting ourselves to immediately relax into it. And when that does not happen, there is a potential we start turning against ourselves. We may think we are doing rest wrong. We may think we are too anxious, too driven, too distracted, too incapable of slowing down, or slowing down is just not for us. We may try to force rest into happening. We may manage it more tightly. We may make rules around it. We may become frustrated with our own mind for continuing to think, with our nervous system for continuing to scan, with our body for continuing to hold stress. And now rest becomes another place where we are not in a healthy relationship with ourselves. Now, if we add self-judgment to that relationship, where rest already feels unfamiliar or threatening, we are now adding to the pressure we are under. Our mind is now trying to rest while also monitoring whether we are resting correctly. Our nervous system is now trying to settle while also responding to our own frustration. Our body is now being asked to relax inside of an environment of internal criticism. And for our available rest to be accessible to our inner world, we have to recognize these dynamics of our relationship with rest. It may begin simply with the recognition that rest is available and I'm not able to settle and relax into it. Recognize this honest observation simply as information. Information about what our mind, nervous system, and body have learned. Information about how much readiness we've been carrying. Information about whether our relationship with stillness has been shaped by safety or something a bit more complicated. And when we can recognize this, we can stop making rest another task that we must perform. We can begin listening to what is blocking our access to it. Because our inability to settle may be showing us that our internal world is still waiting for some sort of reassurance. Our restlessness may be showing us that movement has been our familiar way of feeling safe. Our tension in our body may be showing us that our body has not yet received the message that it can stop holding everything together. Our vigilance in our nervous system may be showing us that our nervous system is still oriented towards what is going to happen next, not settled into a current moment. Our guilt may be showing us that usefulness has been tied too closely to our worth. And our discomfort with quiet may be showing us that silence has not always felt like a safe space for us to exist within. So when rest is available and is not accessible to us, our invitation is not to force ourselves into stillness. It is to understand what stillness is bringing forward within us. It is to notice what our inner world does when nothing is immediately required. Because available rest can be given to us by circumstances. And accessible rest has to be received by our mind, by our nervous system, and our body because we feel safe enough to enter it. And this is where rest becomes more than recovery. Rest can also become our reconnection back to ourself. Rest, when accessed by our inner world, slows our pace enough for all the information that comes from all parts of our mind, body, and nervous system to enter into our conscious awareness. We can return to the parts of ourself that could not be heard while we were still moving fast enough to avoid them. And this is where rest becomes part of our mind's ability to integrate. Rest is not only about getting our energy back, rest is also one of the conditions that allow our mind, our nervous system, and body to bring all of our experiences into coherence. Because on the other side of this equation, when we are moving under pressure without our mind in an integrated state, is the path to becoming tired. Not a physical tiredness, a deeper tiredness, a tiredness in our ability to remain present, in our emotional range, in our regulation, in our capacity to hear our own inner voice clearly, in our ability to access our own choice. This is the exhaustion, the tiredness that shows up when our mind and nervous system and body have been operating under pressure for longer than we have had the space to process, integrate, and recover from. And this is where I want to bring us back to the SIRE model, and especially to the self-intervention practice of HALT within the model. I call it the rhythm of the model. The overview of the model will be linked in our description if you need to get to it. HALT, H-A-L-T, gives us a way to notice when our internal world has moved away from presence and something inside of us is asking for attention. HALT, as we know, stands for hesitation, avoidance, lack, and tiredness. Hesitation may show us where moving forward feels unsafe or unclear. Avoidance may show us where our internal world is not ready to meet. Lack may show us where scarcity has narrowed our sense of possibility, time, support, energy, or capacity. And tiredness may show us where our mind, our nervous system, and body have been carrying more than we've had space to integrate. In today's conversation, the T in HALT becomes central, tiredness. And we are speaking about the tiredness that forms when our inner world has been sustaining readiness for too long. Tiredness can show up in our body as heaviness, aches, tension, sleeplessness, restlessness, sleepiness, or the sense that even simple movements are asking for more than we have available. Everything, in the end, feels larger than it is, more complex than it is. It can show up in our mind as fog, as indecision, as forgetfulness, looping thoughts, or the simple inability to stay with complexity. It can show up in our emotions as irritability, numbness, sensitivity, sadness, impatience, or a smaller emotional range than we usually recognize within ourselves. It can show up in our nervous system as that stress, that tightening, that scanning, difficulty settling in, a sense of being alert at all times, or a need to keep preparing, even when nothing immediate is being asked of us. And it can show up in our consciousness as a distance from our inner knowing, or as a distance so we are not even aware when our subconscious patterns are just flooding out as our responses. This is the tiredness HALT asks us to notice, and it asks us to notice it as information. Tiredness tells us that our mind, our nervous system, and body may no longer have the room to keep responding from conscious presence. Our noticing of our tiredness asks us to look more closely at our relationship with rest. What happens inside us when tiredness becomes undeniable? Do we override it? Do we become frustrated with ourselves for needing rest? Do we search for something productive to justify the pause? Do we just withdraw and disappear? Do we treat tiredness as an inconvenience or as a signal from our mind, nervous system, and body that deserves to be listened to? This is where rest and integration of our mind, nervous system, and body meet. Because if tiredness is the signal that our inner range has narrowed, then rest is the relationship that may allow that range to widen again through enough safety for our mind, our nervous system, and body to stop organizing around readiness and begin returning to a healthy collaboration of all parts of our mind, nervous system, and body. And now we have reached the close of this episode. Today, we spent time looking at how rest is showing us something about our relationship with safety, worth, readiness, usefulness, identity, even trust. When rest feels threatening, our internal world is not being difficult. Our mind and nervous system and body are simply revealing to us what we have learned to rely on for protection. We are being given signals, information that we just simply must notice whether rest is actually accessible within us and not just available around us. It is asking us to notice whether tiredness is being heard as information or overridden because stopping feels unsafe. It asks us to notice whether our pause is restoring us or whether it has become another place where we continue our monitoring and managing and performing or just disappearing. And this is where applying HALT from the SIRE model becomes so valuable, because when tiredness appears, it gives us the signal to pause and listen more closely, not to judge ourselves, not to force rest, not to make rest as just another task to complete, but to recognize where our internal range has narrowed and where our self may be asking for us to return to. And that our relationship with rest can be strengthened with conscious awareness, repetition, and grace and trust. So as we leave this conversation today, as always, I want to invite all of us to sit with a few reflective considerations. When rest becomes available, does our internal world know how to enter it and settle into it? When tiredness shows up, do we listen to it, override it, manage it, or wait until shutdown takes over? What has our mind or nervous system and body learned that rest might be costing us? And what would begin to change if rest was no longer treated as a threat, but as one of the ways we return to our own self? And these questions are not asking us to force rest. They're asking us to understand our relationship with rest a little bit more honestly, because rest does not become restorative through pressure. It becomes restorative when enough safety is present within us for our mind, our nervous system, and our body to access it, to receive it. And in our next episode, episode 20, when control replaces honesty, we will stay with another conditioned pattern that can become active under pressure. We will look at what happens when control begins carrying more authority inside of us than our honesty. When managing, shaping, containing, and directing what is happening starts to feel more available than admitting what is true. And we will stay with how that pattern can affect our relationship with ourself, our choices, our expression, and our ability to remain consciously present. I hope today's conversation resonated with each and every one of us. Please do share your thoughts and perspectives through the platforms you're listening from. And please share this episode with anyone you feel might find value in joining us in this journey. Thank you for joining me today on Catalyze Your Self. I'm Gayatri, your host, and I'm grateful for the space that we share here. And until next time, let us continue practicing conscious presence of mind and accept the information our internal signals give us so we can keep strengthening the relationship we have with our own self.